Hi there, my name is Jen and I'm the teen librarian here at the Grandview Heights Public Library. I'm really happy to be here doing this these book talks on video, even though I would wish that I could visit you in person and do them. I always see some of you that I recognize from after school here at the library, and of course I always see some new faces, which is nice. Hopefully I'll get to see you again when the library reopens to the public. I'm going to talk to you today about some books that Mr. Acton and I picked for your upcoming project. All these books, there's 6 of them, they're about all about racial discrimination. So hopefully you find a couple that sound good to you so you can choose one to read for your project. This one that I'm starting with, this is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Some of you, maybe a lot of you, will have already maybe seen the movie or already know about this book, have heard about it, maybe you know someone who's read it. It's a really good book. It's very good. It was written a few years ago, and it was written about a police shooting. The main character, Star, witnesses her childhood friend be shot by police who have pulled him over and believe that his brush is actually a gun, and so they shoot him and he dies. And so that happens right at the beginning of the book, and the whole story is about the trial, because Star is a witness, and also about sort of processing this feeling that she's feeling so much. She's mourning her friend, but also feeling this sort of this horrible anger about the situation that led him to be shot. And I don't mean that he was carrying a hairbrush, but the atmosphere in the country. So I recommend this book highly, just because it's very good. Even if you've seen the movie, I recommend reading this book because there's just a lot they can't put in movies because it just would be 10 hours long. They always have to cut stuff out of books to make them into movies. So there's lots of good stuff that they had to cut out, and especially one of my favorite characters, Devante, does not make it into the movie, and I understand why. But it's worth reading even if you've seen the movie. It's very good, and it goes pretty quick. The next book that I'm going to talk about is called Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson. It's also received some honors, and actually it won a Stonewall Award and was honored given the Newbery Honor. And as you can hopefully see on the cover, she's actually, this is Jade, and she's a collage artist. She is 16, I believe, and she lives in Portland, and she's Black, and she goes to a school where she has a scholarship because for academic excellence, in addition to her being a collage artist. She's very smart. Most of the kids at her school are not on scholarship. Most of the kids at her school are white. I think there's one other Black girl at her school, and she is very wealthy, and so Jade does not feel like she can identify with her or really anyone else at her school until Sam, a new kid, joins her class. And although Sam is white, she is also on scholarship, and they form a really great friendship. But it's also a friendship that, because Sam is white, and she definitely has a lot that she does not understand about Jade and about being Black and being a Black girl, a teenager. And also, there is also in this one, there's a police shooting in Vancouver, which is sort of right across, I think, a river. It's not very far away from where they live in Portland. She's also involved in this mentorship program that she talks a lot about in the book. And for me, I really love this book, and part of it is because I really feel like this is kind of the perfect book for this project that Mr. Acton has chosen for you. I'm going to read a short part of this, and this is very reflective of the book, and I think really supports the project that Mr. Acton has you guys working on. So Jade says, "I know something happens between the time our mothers and fathers and teachers and mentors send us out into the world telling us, the world is yours, and you are beautiful, and you can be anything, and then the time that we return to them. Something happens when people tell me I have a pretty face ignoring me from the neck down. When I watch the news and see unarmed black men and women shot dead over and over, it's kind of hard to believe this world is mine. Sometimes it feels like I leave home a whole person, sent off with kisses from Mom, who is hanging her every hope on my future. By the time I get home, I feel like my soul has been shattered into a million pieces. Mom's love repairs me. So this is yes, it's a current day story, and it's really good at sort of addressing a lot of the discrimination, even by people she calls friends, that she experiences. The next novel, and this is going to be the last of the novels that I'm going to talk about. So I guess half of them are novels. So this is called Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. She's also written a lot of really great stuff. So if you like this, I would look for her other stuff. And the main character, Jerome, he starts off, he's just been shot by a police officer, and I know you're sensing a theme here. It's an unfortunate theme. And so he is going through he's a ghost. So he switches back and forth between the days leading up to being shot and how he was shot, what circumstances led to that, and also he's observing his family after being shot. His family is mourning him, of course, and also he, interestingly, the only person that can see him that's still alive is actually the daughter of the officer who shot him, and who happens to be his age and is white. And she has a really hard time processing how her dad shot this boy. And so that's part of it. Also, Emmett Till's ghost, which hopefully you know about Emmett Till, and if not, you would learn about him in this book, and I would also recommend just learning about him in general. It's a very important person for the civil rights movement. And his ghost also joins Jerome to help him sort of make sense of things and understand things. So really, really good story. I recommend this one for sure. I guess I recommend all of them, but yes. The next book that I'm going to talk about is actually all three of these are graphic novels, but they're actually nonfiction. So they're graphic nonfiction. So they're written like this in comic book style. This one is called March. It's the first book in a 3-book series. All of the books are out already. The series is done. And the story is actually John Lewis's. So he worked with these graphic artists to make this graphic novel series. John Lewis, if you don't know, he's a senator who actually passed just either in August or September. I mean, he just very, very recently passed away. Or maybe it was even a couple months ago. Coronavirus time is a weird time, right, to keep track of everything. But he was really, really a very important person in the civil rights movement, and he kept being a really important part in fighting for civil rights. He worked with Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and he shares his stories. We hear a lot about there were sit-ins, and there were nonviolent protests, there were marches across bridges. We hear about a lot of these things, but to hear someone tell their story like this it's really important, and it really helps bring everything clearer. And what I really love about this is that he has dedicated this to the past and future children of the movement, which acknowledges that there's still a lot of work to be done, and he was working on that, up until he passed this year. So that is a wonderful one, and if you love that one, there are the 2 other ones that you can read as well. This book, this is another a graphic nonfiction book called The Unwanted. So this is stories of the Syrian refugees. So it really is kind of a history book. And it's it's sad. It's really sad. There's so much, though. I think a lot of us have heard about Syria. Maybe we've heard about Aleppo. Maybe we've heard about refugees. But I think even adults, there's a lot that we don't know about the Syrian refugee crisis. So it started in 2011. This, by the way, is written and illustrated by Don Brown, who's written some other great stuff, other great graphic histories. And it discusses, what happened to make so many Syrians flee. Spoiler alert, it's war. It was a horrible war. It's still going on. And it involves a dictator. And so there are all of these refugees, and it sort of talks about how even though they know that the journey is going to be difficult, that they still feel like they have no choice. And it's really good at kind of illustrating why that is. And it also talks about how they were seeking refugee status in all different European countries, especially. And the response that they got. People were sympathetic at first, but then there were so many that it really it created a lot of stress, frustration, and anger in some of these countries, and it even caused political upheaval in England or the United Kingdom, and in Germany, Greece, and it is still a really big issue, a really complex issue. So this is really good for talking about why that is. It's also really interesting that it's not what I would call the art is not especially fine, but it does a really good job of communicating emotion, and I think that's one of my favorite things about this book too. The other thing that I thought was really shocking was that at the very end of the book, there's just a little bit of a postscript, and it says there are about 5.7 million registered Syrian refugees, and there are a lot that are unregistered. In the first 3 months of 2018, the United States has accepted 11 for resettlement. So that actually also really does illustrate how this is a problem that we probably also don't know as much about, because we haven't had. It's more something that's happening more often in Europe, and it's really good to sort of read about these things that we know are happening, but we need a better understanding of. So this book will do that for sure, and it's a pretty quick read. Yeah, it's a good one. And the last one, I'm going to actually start with a disclaimer. This one is for more mature readers. So this is called #NotYourPrincess, and Voices of Native American Women. So there's a lot of artwork in here, and a lot of stories, short little essays and stories. This is very good. This is very important, in my opinion, because it involves Native peoples in our country, as well as Canada, the stories, it really talks about a lot of things that I think most of us, again, just have no idea about. However, it is really for more mature readers. If you are particularly sensitive to any kind of mature theme, if you think your parents might hesitate to let you read a book that is maybe a little more on the mature side, then this book is probably not the one you should choose. If you think that you can handle this book, then by all means get it, because the art is really beautiful and really powerful. There's a lot of fierceness and a lot of anger and a lot of love in this book. I really highly recommend it. It's by the way, I said that the title is #NotYourPrincess. It's edited by Lisa Charlie Boy and Mary Beth Leatherdale. So they put together all of these stories by all of these different Native women in the United States and Canada. Yeah, it's even though it looks like an easy read, it might be an easy read in terms of that these look short, but it's actually not an emotionally easy read, and I think it takes longer to read than it looks like it would, because it really is. It's intense. It's a lot to take in. So that is the last book that I'm going to talk about. So if you have any questions, you can ask Mr. Acton, and if he has any questions about the books, he can email me, or any of you can call with questions during our curbside hours, which are those are published on the website. Our ghpl.org is our website. So I hope that I can help you find one of these that really that you feel like you click with. I hope you really enjoy reading it, and I really hope to see you again when we reopen to the public. All right, good luck with your projects.